Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about how to assemble your paper. I don't want you to be intimidated by this. I think actually if you've done a good job with your note cards, you're going to find this part of the process pretty satisfying. So the first thing to do before you start writing, you're going to write two of your body sections. You'll have 3 main body sections, plus maybe a background section, plus an intro and conclusion by the time you're done. But this week, you're just going to write 2 of your body sections. So before you start, organize your note cards. Make sure you know which note cards are going in which body section, and choose the 2 body sections you've researched the best so far so that you can catch up and do some more research on that third one if it's not quite as ready to go. And if you organize those note cards and realize you need some more research, well then do the research before you write the body section. It's as simple as that. Be ready before you're there. And then look at your note cards and think about what order the information makes the most sense in. And that's where you can kind of play around with them on your floor, in your room. What do you need to know first before you need to know the next thing, before you need to know the next thing? Keep a reader in mind who, again, is interested in your topic but doesn't know a lot about your topic. And so ponder that and lay that out before you start trying to actually write. When you start writing, you'll look back at that outline that you worked on. And again, we're not doing the introduction or conclusion to the whole essay. We are just writing body sections this week. So when you start a new body section, you will have to start it with a mini thesis that is going to tell the reader what the main components of that section of your paper are. So if you look at my outline on the Black Plague, and we're going to look at body section 2, which is actually Roman numeral 4 on the outline. It's on the 2nd page. And so this body section is going to be about how the Black Plague induced prejudice. So my topic sentence has to let people know that the Black Plague induced prejudice, but I also want to let them know how I'm going to, like how specifically or what specifically I'm going to be talking about. And so I'm going to look at those big capital letters: increase of religious persecution and increase of ethnic persecution. And so my mini thesis topic sentence of the whole section is going to talk about that, the Black Plague induced prejudice by increasing religious and ethnic persecution. I could say it a little fancier than that, but that's what that first sentence needs to communicate. My second sentence of the whole section needs to talk about what the first subsection of the section is going to talk about, in this case, religious persecution. So that second sentence is going to tell me I'm going to particularly talk about the religious persecution of Catholics and Jews. Then my next sentence, my third sentence of that section, is going to look specifically at Catholics and begin talking and presenting evidence about how Catholics were persecuted, what's the evidence for that I have, what are the quotes, paraphrases, and summaries that I'm going to use, how am I going to explain them, how am I going to use good transitions to connect them. I'm going to use all those note cards. So I'm not going to hit the note cards till the third sentence or so, or fourth sentence of my first paragraph of my section. So once I'm all done talking about Catholics in this case and how they were stripped of property and accused of and prosecuted for witchcraft, then I'm going to decide, does it make more sense to start a second paragraph about Jews, in which case I might wind up having 4 paragraphs in this body section, one about Catholics, one about Jews, one about Irish, one about Moors. But no matter what, that very first paragraph in the section is going to address all of the points in those first 2 sentences. So I make the call. I'm going to make the call that Jews are going to be there in a next paragraph. You might decide that those 2 things could be in one paragraph, that they're similar enough and that the paragraph is not 3 pages long by this point. So I'm going to have a new paragraph, and I would say not only were Catholics persecuted, but Jews were also accused of spreading the plague, and they were often banished or executed. And so that's my topic sentence for that paragraph, just about the Jews. And then I present my evidence, and I have transitions, and then I'm going to have a clincher sentence. I was going to have a clincher sentence at the end of my Catholic paragraph too. Every paragraph is going to end with a clincher. Then the next paragraph is going to have another mini thesis about persecution of both Irish and Moors. Then I'll talk about the Irish and present that evidence and have a clincher, and then I'll talk about the Moors and present that evidence and have a clincher. So your first paragraph of a new body section is not going to just address the small focus of that paragraph. It's going to tell me what the whole section is going to do. And then when I get to the end of that section, so when I'm done talking about the mores, I'm going to have a clincher about the mores, but then an overall clincher about the religious and ethnic persecution. I also went over a clincher about religious persecution as I transition from whatever my paragraph is about the end of the Jews. When I'm done talking about them, a clincher transition that talks about both Jews and Catholics, and then a transition into the ethnic persecution. So just make sure every time you're switching a topic on your outline, you're transitioning. You've got a clincher, you've got a new topic or a new mini thesis that's going to let me know what's coming, and then wrap it up at the end. So that's the only way in which kind of pulling this together is a little bit different than your earlier essays that are a little more single subject. But you'll have all these note cards in front of you. So once you get past those topic thesis statements, you've got all this information and you've already arranged it on your floor. You know what order it's going to go in. And so then you're just going to talk about from one thing to the next. And we'll talk a little bit about transitions in a few minutes. But that is how you're going to organize your note cards and the sentences and parts and pieces that you need to put this paper together. I'll see you in the next video.